My business is your business. It's all up in my lady business with me, Mary Nisi. All right, folks, thanks so much for tuning in today. I have the illustrious, amazing Katy Rexing all up in this piece today. She has 4 kids. She is a chef, which I really want to dig into. Blogger. She's down a uterus. And she is here today on All Up in My Lady Business. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, Mary, I just adore you. I'm so happy I could do this with you and just really like see your face and have a good catch up with you. Feels so good. I've missed you.
I have missed you too. I think about you all the time. I know that sounds very weird.
No, because you forgot that I was your new best friend.
No, I didn't forget. There's no forgetting. I want to give a little backstory to how I met Katy. I met Katy a mere 5 months ago, in February of 2023. We met at the famous yoga retreat that I went to in Panama. And Katy wasn't there last year, so she was there this year. And she was like new meat. It was like, who's this new person? Who are these new people? We're the sharks, they're the jets. It wasn't that at all. And I wound up sitting next to Katy pretty early on in the trip, maybe the second night, maybe even the first night. And we started talking and I felt like you were like peering into my soul. And I feel like it was a really important conversation that I kind of went over my head many times since then. And then we just talked a lot during the trip and I find you fascinating. So Katy is a blogger and you have let's get into it. So you have a tribe on the internet of people that
A little bit.
love you. And I'd love to hear how this happened. So where are you from?
Yes. Okay.
Where are you
I'm from Ohio, originally from the Midwest.
Okay.
And then grew up in the Midwest, went to school in Ohio, and then met my husband, John Paul, in Chicago. I moved there right after school. I worked in advertising.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you do?
So I was like an account executive. So I was like the go between the creatives and the client. And I did that for several years. My first client was Kraft mac and cheese, which is so
Ooh.
funny. Like I don't give that to my kids now.
No.
I was slapping up Velveeta shells and cheese. And I remember one day looking at my boss's boss, and it was an all-female team, and it was really small. And I looked at her, and she was working so many hours. I mean, I'm sure you remember, this is the days of like old school, like boys' world, boys' club. And it was just really rough and tough. And I remember looking at her and seeing how hard she worked. And I remember thinking, I don't want her job. And I was like, okay, that's a problem. And I don't want my boss's job. And I knew I had to leave advertising. So anyway, I ended up leaving advertising. And then it's a whole slew of things. But since then, John Paul and I have kind of like moved around a few different times. We were in Chicago for a while, on the East Coast for a while. And now we're in California. And since then, popped out a couple kids.
4.
4. Yeah.
So many kids.
So many kids, Mary. And the plan was just to have 1, maybe 2, and then God laughed, and now here we are.
Yeah. One of the stories that when we met, I remember we were standing in the ocean with waves kind of following us, and you're like, "Yeah, I just sort of like sold my house and just moved to California on a whim." And I'm like, who is this woman that can just move her whole life and with such calm and clarity and
Yes. No, it's so funny because I will share people or I meet people here out in California and they're like, where are you from? Tell me your story. Why did you guys move? And I explained to them like, well, we moved because I had a vision of living in California and I convinced my husband to sell our house. And 2 months later, we moved to California with our kids. And the funny thing is I'm actually not really like a fly by the seat kind of girl. I am usually like really planned out. Things are like well thought through. And I always have like a really good plan. And this was one of the first things in my life where I didn't really have I had no idea what the hell we were doing. I had no expectations. I just knew I didn't see us in the Midwest for a long period of time. And logically, I think if I thought it through, we never would have moved, right? And there was no reason to go. Like it didn't make any sense. Financially, it didn't make any sense. I've got kids going into high school. Like none of it made any sense. And so I think that was the beauty of it is we sort of made the decision quickly. And then we started doing all the logistics. Like we're just going to move and we'll figure it out as we go. And it definitely has not been smooth.
Yeah.
And we are about we'll be a year in July out here. And we're actually just talking about like, what's next? Like, what do we do now?
And you're like, move to Canada.
Yeah, no, like, I'm like, what are we doing with our life? I think we moved out here and there was a lot of excitement around it. And I will say this, we love California and we love being in the sunshine. We love the lifestyle it provides our kids. It definitely aligns with like how we want to raise our family. But again, I didn't really think through a lot of things. And we found our house online and we had never seen it and it's a rental. And we just house. We're like, we saw it. I'm like, this will work. We'll take it. We got on a plane and we moved here with suitcases.
That's
And
insane.
it
You
really was.
flew. That's the
I
crazy thing.
love that. That's why I was like, what did I do? And it's felt really freeing. And I think now we're looking for to get grounded again. And so now we're looking like where we need a house. So now we're sort of like the stress is happening now that I think probably should have happened a year ago. The stress is sort of hitting of like, what are we doing with our kids? Have we fucked them up? Like, why are we out here?
Well, so you said you have one in high school. You have a kid
One
going into
going
high school?
I do. It happened so fast, Mary. I swear. Everyone says like it goes so fast, and not to be cliche, but it really has gone fast. The first like decade of motherhood, I felt like dragged on forever. I was pulling my hair out. I was like bored out, not bored. It was just a lot.
Mhm.
It's full. It's overwhelming, and
Well,
I
and
just felt
it's a mental slog.
it's a mental slog. And I feel like as the kids are getting older, especially my two oldest, I have a eighth grader now who will be in high school next year, and then a middle school girl. And I have to tell you, these are the best years. Like they are so fun.
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
the
No
best years.
one says that.
Everyone says
Literally
it.
no
Oh,
one says that.
they each other teenagers. And I'm like, I actually really, and you're the same way though with your little guy. Like you love him. Like I love my kids. I don't
Mhm.
like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I kind of like them. And I feel like we have a nice banter between us and it's playful. And my expectations of them are like, they're going to be kids, they're going to be teens. And so I feel like because of that, we have this really nice, we just have a nice chemistry between us. And so I'm really enjoying this era with them. And I don't want it to go. I don't want
So
it to end.
it's a boy and then a girl
And then two boys.
okay,
So
so there's
three
one girl.
boys and one girl.
So one
Yeah.
just badass girl that's gonna be slogging with her for three brothers. It's gonna make her so
100%.
tough.
And she rules the roost. Like, I'm even afraid of her. Like, she rules the roost. And a part of me, I'm like, that's really good. It's gonna serve her really,
Yes.
really well, you know? And she's awesome. I mean, they're all awesome in their own right. But I think her being raised around three boys is giving her incredible skills that are just gonna serve her really, really well. So
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, did you do you have what's your sibling situation?
I'm a middle, and my husband's a middle too. And so we're both one of three, and we both have boy girl
Ooh.
opposite ends. And so we're both like the middle pleaser, like the middle child, the people pleaser, like try to keep like everybody together. I don't
Mhm.
know. It's such a good thing that we're both middle kids.
Well, I mean, someone's gotta be it if there's
Someone's gotta
more
be
than
it.
two kids.
Yeah.
It's like the other night, Sebastian is really good around adults. Like,
Yeah.
like, every adult like, I've had a nickel for the number of times people like, "I can't tell he's autistic." It's like, see him around a child, and then you will
Yeah.
see him I mean, I think I've made this joke before, but he's kind of like the frog from Looney Tunes at the, "Hello, my honey. Hello, my baby,"
Oh,
when he's,
yeah.
like, around the owner, but then when he gets around other people, he's like, "Ribbit." And the other night, he was like he was on it. I had a friend over, and he was just on a tear, and he just wouldn't stop talking, and I had this instinct to tell him I'm like, Sebastian, be quiet. Like,
Yeah.
nobody like, you're talking too much." But then I was like then
Yeah.
I all of a sudden had, like, a weird flashback to, like, 19 and someone telling me that I talk too much and no one wants
Yes.
to hear from you. And so I was like, "You know what? This is my child. He talks
Yeah.
too much, I talk too much." And,
Yeah.
like, I don't wanna I mean, granted, I don't think another white guy is gonna have too much, feelings like he does like, no one wants to hear him, but
Right.
I
Right.
did feel like I needed to, like, let him kind of express himself and not let him know that, like, him talking too much is a problem.
Yeah. No, you know what's so funny though, Mary, that you say that is I feel like my kids, and not necessarily the same example of them talking too much, but there will definitely be moments where I'm like, okay, can we just be whatever this is, can we just be done with this? So whether that's like they're overly hyper, my daughter's super sensitive and really emotional and she'll have these outbursts. And I'm like, all right, how much longer is this gonna go on?
Mhm.
Because in my insides, it's triggering something in me. I'm like, because I remember times when like it was sort of shut down as you were
Mhm.
saying, and it was clearly like I was too much. And it's really something that as a parent now, I've become super aware of those moments. I'm like, oh, this is a me problem, not actually a you problem.
But
Like
it's
you're
not even really a you problem. It's like it's almost like you weren't allowed to express that as a kid because it was inconvenient or
yeah,
it was taking too much energy from your parents' brains that were melting down for whatever other reasons were,
yeah,
in our parents' adult 80s brains. And it's hard because I find myself yelling at Sebastian more than I wish I did.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think to myself, like, well, my mom yelled at me. This is how she got me to do things.
yeah,
And so this is how I'm going to get him to do something. And he doesn't respond well to it.
yeah,
And I have to be like to John, like, we have to find a different way to
yeah.
communicate this to him because he doesn't respond well to being yelled at like we were. And then I'm like, wait a minute, was I okay with being yelled at?
Right, 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 right. You're like, so actually it never really worked, did it?
Yeah, no, I just,
No.
and it's not, and like being angry isn't a fun feeling. And I can get to it real fast. It's amazing how quickly I can get angry.
Amazing, amazing. And I'm gonna tell you at least for me, I have found the longer it goes on, the more practice I've had, the more like aware I've become of like, oh, this is actually a trigger for me, the easier it is not to like fly off my handle, but there was a good decade there where my parenting was fly off the handle. And really it was like Asher and Lily, and my first two were like my testers.
Mhm.
I was called Asher, like my burnt pancake. And it's someone like your first child, right? Like you're just like testing things out. You're like, I'm so sorry, I burned you. And the other pancakes are all like perfect golden brown. And he's just like fried, like burnt.
And he's like, "It's
So
okay. I'm fine with that."
no, he really is.
Like,
I'm like, sorry, you're my tester.
he's gonna go to
Um,
college and come back with a face tattoo, and you're like, "This is the burnt pancake."
Totally my fault. Totally my fault. He will be in therapy because of me, but I really did I did like the 3-2-1 parenting. Do you remember that? It was like they like followed. It's like really, it's basically just like really strict disciplining. Like I was for sure in the camp of like timeouts and,
Yeah.
you
There
know,
was the other there were other there's always so many things, but yes, keep going. So you were a
no,
stressed
and
out
it's
parent.
really has just been like, I'd say the past, I don't know, like 5, 6 years or so that my style of parenting has completely changed more to line like what you're talking about, but I didn't even know how much I didn't even realize that it was wrong. I just thought like, well, everybody yells and wasn't it okay? And my mom yelled at me but it never really felt good inside me. Like it didn't feel good for me as a mom. I always felt then like on edge and I didn't have this like close relationship with the kids that like I thought what we were supposed to have. And it's really
Mhm.
just recently that that's
And what
changed.
what changed? What made that
I think a couple of things like one, age, and then two, awareness of my own shit, getting like really honest with myself about like how I wanted to live and what the problems were. And the problems were really like me feeling, I mean, so many things, but my own anxieties, my own overwhelm, my own unhappiness within like whether it was my marriage or whether it was like feeling like we didn't have enough help, we didn't have enough time, we didn't have enough money, like whatever it was, they were just like things I was carrying that then fed into like, how I reacted with the kids. And it's taken me just some time to really start owning my own stuff and cleaning up my side of the street. And I feel like I've become a different mother because of that. I
can
don't
you
know if that.
talk well, like, what did you do? Like, how did that
Yeah, and I think meditation was one of the biggest things for me that really helped me like tune in and become more aware of my own feelings and aware of my own anxieties and emotions. And when things bled over into the kids that really weren't because of the kids, it was really because of me.
Mhm.
Therapy. And then I know we've talked about this before, but I stopped drinking a few years ago. And that's really also been a huge game changer in my parenting. I think it's just like allowed me to be more present with the kids, both like in the times I would have been drinking and the next day too, whatever it
Yeah.
is. And I feel like I just show up for them in a totally different way.
We show up with everything in a totally different way. I mean, I'm a little bit behind you. I think you're at 3 years-ish or something?
2.5 years. And
Yeah.
you're a year plus
I'm like
now.
a year and a half. I'm like a year and 7 months or something to
And
that
do you
effect.
feel like it's changed parenting with Sebastian?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I felt I have a lot of I try to not carry guilt around with me because but I always am. Like, I have a lot of guilt when I let myself think about it, about how not present I was until I quit, and I think I was a much meaner mom. That was when there was a lot more yelling happening, back then, but it's one of the weird things that happened soon after I quit drinking and I was, like, hanging out with them, and we were just laughing and having such a great time, and I was like, "He's hit such a great age, like, this
Yeah.
seems like a great age, like, he's
Yeah.
being really funny and cool," and then I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. Has he always been funny and cool?" And
Yes.
I just didn't realize it because I was just trying to, like, get him out of my life so I could get drunk. Or not drunk, but, like,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
that 5 o'clock because I would start drinking at, like, 5,
Yes.
or 6,
Oh,
5 or 6, and it was, like, 6 if I was being good,
yeah.
and, so it's like I was really and the second that first drink got in, your brain starts numbing and you start doing all the things that you shouldn't be doing instead of hanging out with your kid.
Yeah. No, I'm right there 100 with you. I think I always had this division between my time and like kid time, like mom time. And I felt like whether it be the end of the day or the weekend, that I wanted that like clear divide. Like, okay, I've been a mom to you. Now I'm going to go over here and have my adult time. And that really was signified by like a glass of wine. And, my
Mhm.
husband and I used to put on a record and we'd sit in our living room. He'd pour me a drink and himself a drink. And we were like, if the kids would come in the room, I'd be like, oh, can't we just have our time alone? Like, I'd be so exasperated when they would literally just be breathing and living and existing in our home that's supposed to be shared by all of us. But it was like, this is my space, this is my time. And I noticed when we stopped drinking and my husband stopped drinking as well, that my kids started commenting like, we really like you guys not drinking. And listen, we weren't like massive
No.
drinkers, but we definitely would have a drinker here too. And I think they felt more included in our lives. And it would be little things like now when JP and I are talking, I don't know why I just find myself, and maybe because I've found other ways to relax before that like 5 o'clock hour, that like if I'm having a cup of tea with JP or something, we're talking at night and the kids walk in, I'm like, sit down, tell us about your day. I find that like I'm more open to them being with me in those hours, and that black and white that I used to have of like my time and mom time is now merged. And it's kind of like I just coexist with them in a much
Yeah,
more.
you don't need that singular time. I find I don't need my mom time anymore, and in fact, I found that, like, I like to take my personal time away from the home. Like,
Yes.
if I'm gonna be doing something for myself, I'm not gonna be here. I know maybe that does sound
No,
shitty
I'm
now that I'm
100%,
thinking.
no, I'm 100% with you. It feels better because it's like now I'm like getting up earlier and I'll go and get my walk in at, 6 a.m. or whatever it is before the kids are awake. And I feel like you get your time away, or I'll go, I'm like, I'm gonna go to a good bookstore by myself. Oh, that, and I don't feel like it's that same divide that we used to have in our home back in the days when we used to drink. I don't know if everyone who drinks feels that way, but I was not expecting it. And I wasn't expecting the kids to be like, we really like you guys sober. I'm like, I didn't even know you noticed.
Mhm.
No, I didn't know that it was even gonna be a thing, so, anyway, and especially with, like, my oldest 2 getting older and, Asher going into high school next year, I definitely think JP and I have sort of taken it, like, one day at a time, like, "I don't know, we're just not drinking today, but we'll see," and John Paul recently said, and I agree with him, he's like, "While the kids are in high school, we just it's done, like, we won't drink in our house, like, that won't ever happen," and I'm like, I think you're right." I feel pretty confident that for the next X amount of years we have kids in high school, I don't foresee us having alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
Either
I hope I
around or
never want it again. Yeah,
no?
I'm done. I am like,
Do you
I
think is
have
this it for you for good?
well, it's just because it's funny, I was texting with a friend of mine yesterday. I texted her, like, "I really hope I never want," because I don't white knuckle it. I have 0 desire for it. Like, I
Yeah.
don't see anyone drinking and say, "I wish that's where I was," or I never see somebody 3 drinks in and be like, "That's a place I miss."
Right, right, right.
Like, they're just repeating themselves and, like, I'm like, "God," I had to be worse than what they are because I'm a lot in
Yeah,
general, you know?
ditto.
So, I just like, it was the hangovers, man. It just
Yeah,
weren't worth it. It's like nothing is worth that feeling anymore, and I
yeah,
can just play the tape forward, and then when I smell it, it smells gross, like, I don't and maybe I'm in that pink cloud era. I mean, I hear from other people who've gone through this, deeper than I have or longer that, "Oh, there's a thing that happens at 5 years and thing happen." I'm like, "Okay, like,
yeah,
if you
yeah,
if you say so." I
yeah,
mean, I don't know, but I have started talking to Seb he's 9, and I've already started to talk to him about alcohol because he's only, like, 4 years away from when I started having that stuff, or, like,
yeah,
people were around me socially drinking was when I was 12 or 13,
yeah.
which is so fucked up when I think about it.
So crazy, right? No, I know, and even now, like, the kids I feel like are exposed to things faster and earlier, and it's just wild. No, I think it's smart that you're having those conversations. I don't think it's ever too early to have those kinds of conversations.
I think John thinks it's a little too early, and I'm like, "I don't know. I wish I was hearing it when I was 9 instead because in my family, it was so glamorized, like,
Yeah.
drinking seemed so cool,
Oh,
and
totally, totally. Ditto, I'm right there with you.
So you've got hold on, where do I wanna go with this? Meditation. So your meditation practice, where did that
Yeah.
start? Like, how did that come into your life?
So I first got into yoga when I was pregnant with okay, do you remember Tom Quinn? You obviously practiced with Tom Quinn
Yeah.
before, but I practiced with him, didn't not connecting, like, oh my God, it was Tom Quinn, like back in the day. It was before I was pregnant with Asher. So it would have been like 15, 16 years ago at like a Crunch gym downtown. And that would have been like one of my very first like yoga classes. And I was like, who's this guy? And he played like cool music. And that was sort of my first like for it, like dipping my toes into yoga. And then I really got into it when I was pregnant with Asher. It was like, I was like, this is it. This is the end all be all. And I really loved it. And I did teacher training after Lillian was born. And I started teaching at a Core Power Fitness. Like that was like what I thought yoga was. I was like, this is awesome. And then we moved up into the North Shore of Chicago and I found Yoga View and I took a teacher training all over again because it felt like such a different type of yoga. And that's when I really got into meditation. And even then it was like, I would be into it for like 6 months and then I'd back off for a month or two. It was sort of like, I'd be really good for then a couple weeks and then I would like kind of forget about it. And then I'd say like 3 years ago, like right around COVID, I got really committed into it. And then it's a daily practice now. And I can count on one hand how many days I've missed in the past couple of years.
That's great.
And yeah, and it's not I take it very casually, and so there are days where it will be, 20 minutes, and there are days that it's 10 minutes and someone comes and sits on my lap, or I get interrupted, and I almost always do it first thing in the morning, but there are days that it doesn't happen, and I get interrupted with the kids, and I have to do it when the kids go off to school, and I come back and I sit on my meditation bolster then, but it's almost never a day that goes by that I don't, get my meditation practice in, and it really has been the thing that I think has kept me the most grounded and, really changed everything. Like I think about it, like I don't think this is gonna sound extreme, but it's really not. Like I don't think had I been not meditating, I don't think I would have gotten sober. And I think had I not gotten sober, we never would have moved to California. And I never would have been created like my online business the way I had. Like a lot of things happened because of this snowball effect that meditation sort of opened up for me, which sounds dramatic that like sitting on a bolster for 15 minutes is going to change your life. There are a lot of women who I work with who I help meditations with or get them into a regular meditation practice. And so often I get like, it's not really doing anything. I don't feel it. I don't get it. And I think meditation is just one of those things where it doesn't really affect you or you don't notice the effects until it's been a period of time. Like it grows, it builds on each other. So it's not like something you can drop in for a day and then forget about. So I think all those years when I wasn't seeing a difference is because I wasn't consistent with it.
Mm.
And so I always tell people now who are wanting to start a meditation practice, I'm like, I want you to think about it, whatever's realistic for you that you can be consistent with every day. Because the more consistent you are, even if it's just 5 minutes, you can feel that impact building. What you don't want is the like dab in here, dab in there. So that's really the thing that kind of like changed sort of everything for me.
I think that meditation is difficult for Americans to wrap their heads around.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this from like, I know a bunch of
No.
Canadians or whatever, but I think
Yeah.
that there's no money in it, like, or there's not
Yeah.
like, you don't have to pay to meditate and you can just do it. And we want to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And there's all these things like I had to start doing meditation with doing guided meditation. That was
No. Yeah.
that was first. And I still will do guided meditation. I do a guided meditation with Rangini, who's this amazing lady in Mexico. Every Sunday
Yeah.
morning, I do an hour-long guided meditation with this woman, Rangini. And then I think that it's for the longest time, I thought I was doing it wrong. Like I would find myself judging my thoughts and being like, how come I don't get this? And why can't I get it? And even that's getting it. Like,
Yeah. 100%.
because you're
Yeah.
still inside of yourself. It's being in the moment. Like even sitting here going, I don't get it. I don't get it. You're actually meditating because
Yeah.
you're not like making a list in your head or thinking about that conversation you had earlier. You're still inside of it. And I do believe that when my life gets off, it's because I stopped doing it every morning.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think the number one piece of feedback I always get from women is like, I can't do it, or it's not working. I don't know how to. I'm not good at it. As if it's something that, again, like we can measure ourselves or judge ourselves on.
Mhm.
That like a meditation. And I try to explain to people like there are plenty of meditations. I just had one this morning. I was literally thinking about every single thing I had to do. And old me years ago would have been like, that doesn't count. I was doing a bad job. And I'm like, that's just the practice today. That's literally just the practice today. And it was more of the awareness of, wow, you have a lot on your mind. Your anxiety is really high. Take good care of yourself. We got to figure some things out. Like we got to adjust things. And so it's just even that awareness of like, oh, my mind was racing today. That's it.
Mhm.
No judgment.
Well, and the fact that your brain was racing, you might be like, maybe I should go to acupuncture, and then all of a sudden you're kind of thinking about ways to make yourself feel better.
100%. But I think that you're right in saying that there isn't. I don't know if it's because I think there's no money in it. It's something I don't know what it is, but I agree with you in that comment about we like things that like we have to. Someone else is holding us accountable. Let me pay you X amount of money. You tell me what to do. Give me the program in 30 days. Tell me I'm going to feel different. And instead, this is one of those things where it's like there's no equipment needed. There are no excuses. Like it's a very vulnerable experience because to say you can't do it is like to say like I don't know how to breathe. Like anyone. Of course you can do it. You just don't want to do it. And it's the showing up in that daily commitment to yourself that's really hard to honor.
Well, and I think that maybe meditation is just the idea of is being disciplined in something. Okay, I'm trying to form this thought but like yesterday on Twitter, there was somebody like, what's a habit you've picked up that has made your life better? And, it was the gamut of, drinking water every day or quitting drinking or, but meditation and journaling were the two things that mean, there were probably 1,000 responses to this, and I would
Yeah.
say that half of them were meditation and journaling.
Yeah.
And everybody said it has to be consistent. You have to do it every day.
Yeah.
And I think that when we think about like what meditation is, and it goes back, thousands of years, and every civilization, like every, the loci of, the Mesopotamians and the Indians, and, every even Christianity with prayer, like that's all a version of meditation. And
Yes.
so it's weird that like every single, what is the word I'm looking for? Menopause, man, it's a bitch. Like the civilizations, the
Yes,
groups,
yes.
the people, I don't know.
Every civilization has had some form of whether it's meditation or prayer, something that's a daily commitment, a daily ritual. And it really is. That really is what meditation is. It's that daily ritual and commitment to yourself.
I remember I was reading an article, an interview with Sting, and this was back when I was judging meditation, being like, how good could it possibly be? There's no
Yeah,
way it actually works. Only condescending jerks do,
totally. Totally.
and he's like, I meditate all the time. And like, I'll be at the stoplight at like Fifth Avenue and Park, and I'll just meditate while the light's changing. And I'm like, fuck you, man. They're not
Yeah.
meditating. And I'm like, yes, Sting was right. And I think about it a lot. Like I
Yeah,
think
no,
about
it's
Sting
true.
meditating on that corner, and I'm like, just going into yourself and just giving yourself a moment of like grounding yourself is like,
Yeah. Yes. 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 And I think, I would get a lot of feedback from women when they're first starting this of like, oh, can walking be a form of meditation? Can poetry, can this is a form of meditation? And I always think like, yes, of course. Yes. But it's yes. And I think you still have to show up on your bolster every day. You still have to show up on your mat every day. And then you have those opportunities when you're sitting at a stoplight that you can say, okay, I can turn inward, because it's easy. It's much easier to like to find that grounding at a red stoplight. But sometimes I feel like it's easy for, at least I have found, for people to want to replace the work of sitting on a bolster for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, sitting on your cushion, your seat, and replace it with like, well, when I'm out in nature and on a walk, it's meditating. And I think like it can be, sure. And you still have to show up on your bolster.
and so is 20 minutes what your goal is every day?
That's what feels the best for me. So, and it's nice for me. I find that if I do it first thing in the morning, and I'm an early riser and I like to get up and just get it done with, yeah, it feels really good. 20 minutes is a good amount for me. And right now I just do it unguided, and that feels good for me, but that doesn't mean a month from now it won't be different. And I try to be really gray about some of that, of like, it's going to evolve and change depending on what's going on in my life. And right now that's what feels really good.
So you lead a meditation group,
Yeah, yeah.
or what? Like, so
Yeah,
tell,
so that's
tell so
it. That's it. Yes. So it started after COVID, the year after COVID, I would share online. So I started a food blog years ago. I went to culinary school, I worked in a kitchen for a little bit but had kids right away. And I made zero money in a kitchen.
Mhm.
My babysitters cost more than I was making. And so I stayed home with the kids. And after my fourth was born, I was like, I need something, but I couldn't go back into a kitchen. It just didn't make sense. And JP was traveling all the time. So I started a food blog, and I was like, that's going to be great. And I'm just going to write about food, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be honest, it was really fun. It was never meant to make any money. It was just a creative outlet. I needed to do something with myself. And as that sort of grew, I would share other parts of my life. And post COVID, I'd show myself in the morning meditating, and I'd get so many questions. Nobody gave a shit about the salad I was making. Everyone's like, so why are you meditating? Like, tell me about, can we talk more about that? And so I really found that people are craving something to get reconnected with themselves. I feel like right now, more than ever, we are all living really disconnected from ourselves. And I think we're all craving this homecoming to our own bodies. And we were raised in a world that's just detached. And it was like, fill your emotions with, whether it's overscheduling yourself, whether it's overworking, whether it's over consuming food, wine, whatever it may be. We really were never taught, at least I was not taught, any coping mechanisms to like get back in my body. And so I found that women were really curious about, what is it doing? What's the benefit? And so I opened it up and said, would anyone want to meditate with me? And I was really overwhelmed right away with the response of how many women said, yes, I will meditate with you and I just said, let's do it. It was super casual. Like, let's just do it for 30 days and see how it goes. And the response was overwhelming with the amount of women who felt
like how many?
So we had 60 women sign up.
Oh
for
my God.
No, it was I was like, yeah, you don't really have to. I kept be like, you don't have to do this. And they're like, we want to do this. And I was like,
You're also like, "Am I qualified to do this?" Like,
yeah, 100%. And then I was realizing I don't have to be qualified. All I'm doing is offering them a space. And all I'm doing is saying, we're all accountable and I'm going to do it. And so you're going to do it. And let's all keep each other accountable. And I think that, especially that first round, everyone was really committed because, again, I think people wanted something. It was post COVID. It was this feeling of like, wine certainly isn't doing it. I can't work out anymore. There's no diet, but like something in my life has to fix. And it was starting to realize like, well, the answers it aren't all these things out there. The answers are just literally right here within me. It's just getting quiet. And, people had commented like, my marriage is totally different. My parenting is different. I'm changing jobs because of this now. I realized I want to move. So many things opened up for women. And so I said, we have to do it again. We have to keep doing it. And so we did 5 more rounds of it. And it was each round with different groups of dynamics of women. It's been wonderful. I'm taking a break right now. I'm taking actually a little social media hiatus too. I'm just taking a little pause, but we'll definitely be back leading more of these because it really filled my soul of like, I feel like what I was called to share, not in any way as like an expert of just like, this is how it's changed my life. Let me share with you what's worked for me because I think we need it.
when you say you're doing rounds, like, it's just, like, every day where we just meet on
So
Zoom?
they would just last for 4 weeks. So we would all agree to whatever the parameters were, but it would be for 4 weeks. We would do a group. A group would stay together, like a little container. And so I don't have a session right now of women that I'm leading right now. So right now we're not offering anything.
But is it what it was, though, is, like, do they just meet every morning on Zoom for 30 minutes, or what was the
No.
what
So
was the
there was a platform that we had a lot of guided meditations on, whether it be video and audio meditations you could listen on your own. And then we met via Zoom once a week. And then we meet on Instagram Live. And I would do live meditations on IG Live. And then every day people would send me their photos in the morning. So like I meditated, here's my picture, here's me. So it was just like an accountability check. So there were like a couple different components of it, but they could really do it sort of like on their own. There wasn't a set time like you had to be someplace every day. So you could use the video or audio meditations on your own whenever you wanted or meditate on your own. You just had to check in and be like, I did it for today. Check. Can I get my check for the day? Um, and it was great. I think just having that accountability really is what people were lacking and sort of missing. And I think also the dynamics of being on Zoom with a community of people who aren't your neighbor, you don't have kids in the same class. It would be women from all over the country who didn't know each other, all walks of life, of saying, I have everything in the world that I could possibly want. I've got a husband, a partnership that I love, and I'm happy in my job, and I've got kids, and yet I'm still really unhappy. And so many women could relate to that story of, yeah, I'm just not fulfilled. And I'm in my mid 40s and I don't know what it is that I'm searching for, but I'm clearly searching for something. And then at the end of the 4 weeks, sort of finding, oh, I think the thing I was missing is me. And feeling that sense of homecoming to themselves, it was really, really powerful. And doing it in a way that felt non-threatening. And,
Mhm.
you weren't gonna run into the person at the grocery store after you just cried to them.
Yeah.
So, there's something really powerful about that, of like being seen, but in a way that feels safe.
That's amazing. And that you were just I mean, just that you started it by like, "Oh, I'm just gonna open up Instagram and see if anybody cares," and then 60 people care. And it's like, that's insane, like, that you get it's a lesson on, follow your heart. Like, if you feel like something is
Yeah.
there, there's
Yeah.
something there.
And I think that was going back to then, not to connect this to the move to California or to even like the sobriety of these things, but a lot of these decisions sort of happen after that program had such great success in the beginning. And it really taught me of like, you don't have to know how you're going to do it. When I first said, do you want to meditate with me? I didn't know how to sell stuff online. I had no idea. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, via Zoom, like none of the logistics were figured out. Like none of it made any sense to me. Like I have no idea how we're going to do this. But I think the thing I found out is that when you're doing something that's really aligned with your values and who you are, and that feel that's really intentional, and you take like grounded action every day to make it happen, the universe sort of like gives you the answers. It sort of just like unfolds and opens up for you. And that was sort of the thing too, like when we decided to move, I'm like, I think I'm gonna move. Let's do it. And I was like, I'm gonna trust that the universe is gonna show me how to do this. It's gonna present itself. It's gonna work itself out. And I think that program sort of was one of those things of I didn't have to have the answers. And I'm so glad I didn't go in being like, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. Does anyone want to come do it with me? It was more just like, I don't really know, but my intention is this. This is the feeling I want you to get. And then I let all of my actions come from that feeling.
I mean,
That
that's
makes
like
any sense. I don't think that as I say that, I'm like, does that make sense?
well, I mean, I think what it is, and I think that's one of the things that's kind of going on in the world with just all the upheaval that's happening right now. And, everything just feels kind of icky and weird in the
Yeah.
world. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we used to kind of be more fabricy. We were all kind of
Yes.
together together more and there was less division. And it was, I think that when everything started getting kind of icky, like post, 9/11, people kind of went into themselves more because you didn't know who you could trust, and,
Yeah.
you didn't wanna know how people thought because you didn't wanna have to dislike them because they were different from you. They were a
Yeah.
Republican or a Democrat, whatever your thing is, and I think when we lose our villages, we don't it's hard to raise a kid because you feel guilty. You look like a bad parent if you ask for help or whatever,
Yeah.
all these things.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a very fucked up time, as if I know anything else, but
Yeah.
it
No,
feels very fucked up,
it
and
is. It is.
and I think that we're like you said, we're craving connection. We're craving like, I've got a partner, a house, a kid, a dog. I don't know why I don't feel anything. And it's
Yeah.
because, we're so programmed to just buy things or whatever. And it's like meditation, it just makes you go inside yourself and, maybe even begin to like yourself. Cause Lord knows as women, we get messages all the time. You're not enough. You're not pretty enough. I mean, I spend so much time.
Oh,
If I could add up all the time I spend thinking about how fat I am,
oh.
I could
I think I spent
fuel.
the first 40 years of my life I spent hating myself, not even knowing that that's what I was doing. I didn't know that I was hating myself, but that's what I was doing, and it's just because that's what I was taught to do, and that's what I saw around me, and that's what every woman I knew was doing. We were all putting ourselves down. We were all, like, in our own way, like, not good enough, and I think you see all of these people around you, just going back to what you said about, I think, and I look around now, it can be so easy, and that's one of the reasons I'm actually taking a break from social media. It's so easy to see swarms of people around you who have the partner, who have the house, who have the this, and they're vacationing, and they look happy. And I know deep down that a majority of those people are still going to bed at night, putting their head on the pillow, being like, "I feel like shit."
Mhm.
Or like, "What didn't I do today?" Or like, "I didn't do this well," or "I snapped at my kids." And like, we're going to bed with these hearts that are so heavy, no matter how beautiful it looks on the outside. And I don't know how we get, like, I don't have the answers of how we get back or how because I don't think we've actually ever been to the place. Let's say how we get back, because I don't know that we've ever been to the place of where how we feel on the inside is how we present on the outside. And that those two worlds, like how we're showing up in the world and maneuvering in the world, is actually how we show up. I think, and this is going on a tangent, so forgive me, but I think we are so used to asking people, like, "How are you?" And everyone's like, "Fine." And I loved it earlier when I asked you, like, "How are you?" And you did not say fine. And I think we go around, we're just assuming that we're fine. It's, we think everybody else is fine. And deep down, we're like, but I'm actually not fine. And I think just the fact that we live in a world where that's the accepted
Default.
phrase, default, is crazy. Cause I'm like,
Mhm.
how is anybody fine?
Yeah.
Please tell
And
me
so
you're not, because I'm not.
Yeah, well, and sometimes I'm great, like, sometimes I'm great, but usually I'm not, and that's the thing that sucks. I wish I was fine more than I'm not fine, and I wish I was, 'cause, what's so crazy is after I got back from Panama, I remember when I was in Panama, even saying to Amy, my best friend I was on the trip with, like,
Yeah.
"I feel good for the first time in years." Like, it was like, I felt like I actually felt like I was in control of things and that I knew what was happening, and I was so happy, and I got back from
Yeah.
Panama, and I was so happy, and then I had a bunch of terrible work things kinda dumped on me, like, right away after I got back, and I was like, "It's fine. I actually can handle these things," like,
Yeah.
and then eventually the high of that wore off, and it's like, wow, I've just been chasing that happy high, like, I hadn't felt it in so long, so, like, I'm gonna figure it out
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
wanna be happier all the time.
I know, right? I felt that same way coming home from Panama. It was a little bit of like, I almost like, it was like almost like a little bit of a crash. I mean, it sounds like yours was a little bit more sustained, like you felt good for a little bit longer, but it would be wonderful to be able to set up our lives that we can recreate that same feeling in our everyday life, because I think that would be so powerful. And what an amazing, I look at the legacy I'm leaving for my kids, or just what I'm trying to teach them. I'm like, I hope that they grow up in a world that can see that they set themselves up and have the tools to be able to take care of themselves in a different way, in a healthier way than I learned. Because I think we're gonna, hopefully this next generation, set up for a little more just genuine, like, peace and contentment and ease, and to move through their days without feeling this, like, I'm gonna just say the word anxiety because I don't know what else to call it, but this like pull at their hearts to just like live in a way that feels like easeful and content and peaceful would be just such a
Well, and I think it's hard to when I try to figure out, because I'm at we're both roughly the same. It's like hard to be in your mid 40s this year. Well, it's not hard. I mean, I feel like this is a great. I feel better with myself mentally in my 40s than
Mhm,
any other
mhm.
one, because I just feel like I know myself better and I know what I
Yeah.
will put up with and what I won't put up with, etc. But I'm also kind of wondering, like, what does it all mean? Having the like,
Yeah.
and kind of really going like, how come everything like this can't be what the world, like, this is what life is. Like, you get made to be a human on the earth to just be fine. and then
Yeah.
sometimes miserable and have brief flashes of happiness and then
Yeah.
die. Like that can't just be
No, it
what
cannot.
this is.
Yeah.
And I would like to get to a point where like I feel like so much of advertising is engineered towards making us feel like shit about ourselves so we can buy the
Yes.
things so that we feel
Yes.
better about ourselves.
Yes.
And we're constantly being fed with ads all the time. Is that why we feel like shit all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge part of it. I think social media also plays a huge part in
Mhm.
it. I think social media is a beautiful, beautiful tool. I really do. And I think it can be really used for good. And I think all these things are like in and of themselves are not inherently good or bad, but the way that they're used. And I will tell you, I definitely notice that I feel a difference. Like when I go on social, there'll be moments where I'm like, okay, so now I definitely like need to intermittent fast differently.
Mhm.
Long bra. I need eye cream. I need to get this course on SEO to help my blog. Like I
Mhm.
clearly am not doing the right pelvic floor exercises.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so I feel like I'm like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. And I just opened my phone and my to-do list now just grew. I clearly don't know anything about anything.
Wait, so do you take, like, whole social media breaks, like, you won't even open it for
Well,
days?
I don't think I've been on. I mean, I will check here or there, but I took the app off my phone about a month ago.
Which one?
Well, I was really only on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter, although I would happily my husband's like, "You need to get on Twitter. It's so much better."
It was, but, I mean, there's a huge difference between after Elon took over, like, it's just
Yeah.
not the same.
Yeah, that's all that I have. I don't have any other social media things. They don't know. And my
Yeah,
kids aren't on them yet, thank goodness, but
mhm.
definitely all of their friends are. Both my oldest two, they're I think one of the only people that we know who aren't in that age bracket, which is also really scary.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Yeah, it's a terrible conversation. I mean, I let my son watch YouTube and I'm bad about it. It's like the thing where I'm like, this is where my bad parent like, I just let him
No,
watch YouTube and
I think
well,
that's
just
different though.
it's not it isn't. Like, I mean, I mostly know what he's watching. It's just I'm afraid that there's, like, subliminal messages getting in there that are like,
Yeah.
razor blades in your eyeballs are cool or so I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Oh my gosh, Mary, I love
uh,
you. Did you remember when razor blades and, like, Easter, like, Halloween candy was, like, a
uh-huh.
thing people would look for? I'm like, "Wait, do people still" I would still, like, check my kids' candy for razor blades, like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "Do people put razor blades and things?" And they're like, "Mom, I don't think they ever did that." I'm like, "No, they did, they did."
Yeah, no, it was definitely a thing. We all felt it. I also like here last year there was a lot of alarm that people were putting weed edibles into kids' candy,
Oh,
and I'm like, the fuck they are.
that would be, like, a lot of effort in giving away stuff that they want. I'm like, "Why would they do that?"
And
Yeah.
it's really expensive too. Like, and you're never gonna see the results of it because no parent's gonna let their kid eat loose candy, and they don't individually wrap an
Oh
edible.
my gosh, that's hysterical. So that was a thing, at least,
Yeah.
like, talked about. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
like, it was on the news, and it was like, ugh, that's not even that's the most manufactured crisis that I've ever
They were low on stories for the night.
Exactly, exactly. I've gone and seen, Anne Wildman a few times.
Oh, really?
Or Westfall. What's her
Yeah,
name?
I knew who you were talking about. I knew who you were talking about. Do you wanna share?
Sure, I mean, it's, so Anne was some guru person that Katie
What
had
do we
told
call
me
it?
about.
An intuitive healer? Intuitive
Yeah, an intuitive healer. Yes, intuitive healer, that's what she is. She's an intuitive
okay,
healer.
great, yes.
And I got a lot of crazy peace from her. I mean,
Good.
like, it was like I guess talking about, like, just people like her in general, like, it's kind of like people that have a mystical
Yeah,
bent to them or figure out that they've got these
yeah,
skills. Like
yes.
even Channy Nicholas, the
Yes.
astrologer, like listening who you introduced me to. I had now my I'm a paid on the app. I look at it every day. Like
You're like, "I owe Katy Rexing now to talk to Ann Westfall. I've
I
gotta
know.
check with Annie." Like, I have so many things I have to do now, which is what
I
I mean
know. You
sorry,
really
I get
I
a
was
bad
saying
report.
well, and it's funny because every morning when I'm meditating, I think to myself, I know Katie does 20 minutes and then she journals. And I'm like, I'm not meditating long enough. I need to like have a session with Katie where she tells me what she does so that I can do it. Like it's like this weird, like,
No,
you
you are
know,
so funny.
but I do. I literally think about you almost every day when I'm meditating,
Oh, that makes
which
me
I think
feel
is be a great thing for you to like. That's a good connection. It's not like I'm
yeah,
like, oh, I'm eating my fifth piece
right.
of pizza. Let me think about Katie.
No, I love that.
Um,
No, I love Anne. I love Anne. She was really helpful for me post hysterectomy. She was really helpful for like
how?
so I didn't really understand and this is way
Why
too
don't you
long.
go back and go to like why'd you get a hysterectomy?
Okay, so I'm 44 and never once in my life did anyone say to me, "You're probably gonna need a hysterectomy." Like that was never on my radar. Like that's never been something that was
Yeah.
much about.
Me neither.
Right. And there's a new book out. It's called Womb. I cannot remember the author, so I'll text it to you. But and you can maybe put it in your show notes or something. I don't know why I just told you what to do. I'm like, and you could put
Yeah,
it in your show notes.
I love it.
But it was a really great book, and the author in there was saying that right now, and it just came out, that the statistics for hysterectomies are 1 in every 3 women by the age of 60 will have her uterus removed. Which, Mary, is very high. That is a very high number.
That's insane.
Insane.
Why? Why are we getting our hysterectomies?
So I think so many reasons. So the book goes into like huge details about like what the thought is around it, but really it's sort of like it's become just kind of the go-to for like if there's something wrong in your uterus post 40, it's like just have a hysterectomy. And so many women now are having, and I don't know have the statistics on it. Like I don't know what the different things that people are having, but whether it's endometriosis or
Mhm.
fibroids or masses or like just bad periods, and they're really for Western medicine, it's kind of just like it is what it is. At least that's what I've been told for so long, and I
Mhm.
can't really speak to my story, but from so many other women who reached out to me post hysterectomy of like, that's sort of what I've been told too, is like past 40, if you have an issue, it's like, let's just remove it. And so I had a pretty bad fibroid that I had removed about a year ago and didn't think anything of it, moved out to California and was just having a lot of complications and my hormones were off and I couldn't figure out why. And I went in and had a quick ultrasound about a new OB. And really only went into this OB because in order to get put on hormone replacement therapy, I had to have a mammogram. And to get a mammogram, you have to have a
Mm.
doctor. So I was like, motherfucker. So I went into this OB really just to get like, so I could get my prescription. And she's like, you shouldn't be bleeding this much. Let's do a really quick ultrasound. So we did a super quick ultrasound and she's like, you have a mass the size of a small lemon in your uterus. And I was like, what? I don't think
Is it
so.
my fifth child?
Yeah, I was like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "Yeah, you have to have it." And she was immediately like, "You really don't have any other options besides you have to have a hysterectomy." And I will be honest with you, I had had a biopsy done on my uterus and a fibroid the year before. And this is the second biopsy that I had done in a matter of 12 months. And I had said to my husband, like, I don't want to mess around with this anymore. Like, let's just take it out. But I was definitely under the guise of no big deal. You'll just have it taken out and you'll be fine. And I will tell you, I woke up from that surgery, couldn't stop crying. And it wasn't because I was in pain. I was like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I feel like a completely different person. I felt like a completely different person. And I know myself pretty well and I'm a pretty grounded, stable person. Like it takes a lot to throw me. I'm pretty like straight. And so I knew something was off right away. And every
Wait,
story,
from the like after the hysterectomy you started crying?
yeah, it was
Is it
just
because
like
you could feel like the lack of whatever the bad thing
I
it was
think that
doing to
there was
you?
like a grieving period as women that like I don't think we understand how much of our intuition, how much of our own essence and our power, our creativity lies within our womb space. And I'm just gonna call it a womb space that includes like
Mhm.
all the different parts, right? So your womb carries really like the essence of who you are. And I didn't understand that surgically removing that organ would also make me energetically feel totally different. But it really was a much more emotional experience than I was expecting, and I'm starting to understand now from just people who all of a sudden come out of the woodworks when I shared that I had a hysterectomy. So many women came like, "Me too. I'm just gonna give you a heads up that you might be a little you might be a little blue. Things are gonna be weird. It'll balance out." And I will say hormonally, I feel like I've balanced out, but there definitely is still this piece and then I worked with Ann Westfall, who did a little bit to help me of like reconnecting as if your womb was still there. So I've done a lot of, for about a month or so there, I did every day a womb meditation on just like healing my womb space, even though it was gone, of just like really like creating energetically seeing that still being whole and intact. And then really reconnecting with my children because again, like our connection to our kids is like from that space, from that area. And I will tell you the thing that was hard is not necessarily hard, but I wasn't prepared for is I have been in a million and one different doctor's offices, as I'm sure you have too. And I have read every single brochure from like, you need to get this for this, and you need to do this. And every single amount of, after having 4 kids, I think I've been to the doctor like 100+ times. And never once did someone say to me, the odds are you'll probably have a hysterectomy at some point because of fibroids or because of endometriosis. And I feel like I was not prepared. And then the aftercare is just not there. It is just like,
Mhm.
send you on your way, you'll be fine. And I think the thing that's really scary is I think about like, I don't mean to turn this into a gender thing, but if one
Oh,
in
well,
every
no,
three,
do it.
well, I will say like if 1 in every 3 men were walking around with their balls cut off, we'd be having a conversation about this.
Yes.
And so I think the conversation is like, A, how are we getting to this point that so many of us have uteruses that are bleeding, that are having clots, that are is it that's happening? And why aren't we getting answers so that these are preventable? And then B, how is the only answer just remove the organ that makes
Mhm.
you a woman? and how that organ is so highly, it's just controversial. It's like not a part, it's not needed. You know what I mean? And I just,
Well, especially after you're 40. If you're not there to make kids anymore,
it is not
yeah.
needed,
Yeah.
you know? And I think the thing is that there's such a taking of a woman's power when that organ is taken out. And I really do feel like it is a thing about power and creativity and energy, all this stuff. Like you're taking away the essence of a woman. And I know that there are many women who could say, like, I'm fine. I had a hysterectomy a decade ago and I'm fine. And yes, I'm sure there are many women who are fine, but I'm going to just speak for the majority who I feel like probably aren't fine post hysterectomy of like, there has to be a better answer.
So wait, do you regret taking it out?
I don't regret taking out. I saw the picture of the mass post surgery and it was Mary, it literally was like looking at like a huge white mass. And I will say there's not an ounce of me that feels regret because God forbid that that turned into something else. My health with and being alive, I don't take it for granted.
Mhm.
I wish I would have had an option that we didn't get to that point that that mass grew to that size and that that would have been preventable. And not angry, maybe a little angry that I wasn't more prepared. That there wasn't literature out there. There wasn't books. There weren't blogs.
Yeah.
There weren't, no one on Instagram out of all the things I listen to, no one on Instagram is like, so at 40, I had a hysterectomy. I'm like, where are all the other 40-year-olds who are having hysterectomies? Because I know they're out there. And I just
Yeah.
not talked about.
I mean, it's kind of it's how all women's health, I feel
All
like, is dealt with because, like, I have a lot of, and maybe you're this way. I'm the kind well, I don't think you are, but I'm the kind of person where I have to know everything that's happening to me. Like, when I'm
yeah.
at the dentist, I'm like, "What's that thing gonna do?" Right? I need to know
Yeah.
everything that happens to me, and, like, when you are pregnant, like, I only was pregnant once, that I took a 12-week-long childbirth class, and I had to do
Yeah.
like, I was, like, very, like, I wanted to know everything, and a lot of people don't feel that way. They're like, "Ugh, I just was like, whatever he says to do, I'm just gonna do it," and it's like, when you surrender that knowledge, then it's hard to get it back. Like, I think a lot of people just kind of accept it as, like, the answer, and I think also there's, like, if you complain about it, you're less of a woman. Like,
Yes.
if you don't totally love being a mom, you're an asshole. Or if so,
Yes.
no one talks about the fact that sometimes it sucks being a mom.
Yes.
Or, like, I had a hysterectomy and I was fine. It's like, well,
Yeah.
okay, well, were you? Because
Yeah, right?
you
They're
sound pretty defensive about it.
no, for sure. Or like miscarriages or women who don't want to have children, right? Like so many issues around being a woman and especially our reproductive organs and how they're used or how we feel about them is still to this day in 2020, like kind of off the table and sort of taboo. And it makes me really sad. And, I've been really vocal with my kids about my experience with my hysterectomy. And I would say to Lillian, like, I hope you do everything you can that when you are in your 80s, that you still have your uterus in you. And so, like, you need
What
to fight to, like, have these kinds of conversations with your doctor at an earlier age.
What do you think would have been like, what do you think, not to make you the
Yeah.
reason why, like, blame you for this, but what do you think you could have done differently? Or what do you think you
Yeah.
should have done? Or what do you think someone should have done to you that would have prevented this from happening?
I'm not really sure, but when I had my fibroid removed, I was back when I was still living in Chicago right before we moved. I think then that I didn't push hard enough to be like, why is it there? Why do I have fibroids? And I think this whole thing of like fibroids or endometriosis is just so no one asks questions like why or what could we do to prevent it. It's just sort of like, well, it's so common, right? Everything, I was bleeding horribly for years and had complained about I was anemic and a lot of my hormones are messed up for the amount of blood that I was losing every month. And, that was just told that's just normal. And I
Mm,
think sometimes just because things happen to a lot of us that it's assumed that that's just the way it is. And
mhm.
I wish that more women spoke up to be like, yeah, my periods are crazy heavy. I can't leave the house for 2 days, or I'm also anemic. And that we kind of pushed back a little bit on Western medicine. That so there could be some, I don't know why we're not doing any research. Like, why are so many women having fibroids? And why are we having endometriosis? And why are women bleeding horrifically? I don't know like what I could have done differently other than I just wish I would have pushed a little harder to have gotten more
Yeah.
answers. I think I just took whatever they said to be like, okay. So last year before we moved, I'd had that removed. It's called a myomectomy is the name of the procedure. And I think I was just like, okay, sure. And I was like, I'll be fine. No big deal. And, I didn't really understand like, well, a fibroid will come right back and it just grows right back and it comes back stronger and bigger.
Oh,
And
really?
I mean, I at least mine did from my experience. My fiber was not that big, and then all of a sudden I had this mass that was, the size of a lemon.
Cool. Cool.
So I was like, huh. So that's like, it was protruding. I was like, my stomach always feels really big and bloated. It's fine. It's fine. Just you need to eat better, eat more
Yeah.
protein. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
You're like, but I've got a 4-month-old tumor inside of me. It's like the size of a
So,
4-month-old fetus.
I feel like the only advice I've ever been given around like not feeling my best has been eat more protein and lift weights and just don't eat after 7 o'clock. I was like, what? So, I don't know. And just like get better tampons. Like that's been sort of
Mhm.
like the only advice I've been given by the medical community. So here I am.
Maybe it's like scented tampons or what makes them happen or
That's it.
something like
Like, what was it? All my tampons that made this vibrate happen? I don't know. Here I am, a uterus gone later, and I feel, if anything, this is sort of like woken up something in me to sort of fight for women's rights more. And it's, along with like sharing about my meditation journal, now this will be a new part of me that's like, post 40, women's health is clearly not being discussed as much as it should be. And I'm in no way about to go into like late 40s and 50s and being like, this is as good as it gets because
Yeah.
it's got to be better than this. And we all deserve better than this. And I think we're a forgotten group and it's not okay by me. So it's definitely fueled something in me. My fire has been stoked.
Yeah, well, I think if you're able to make this meditation, I see that you could do something even if you
calling,
decided to.
calling all the hysterectomy women. Like,
There would be a lot of them, or people that are like, I mean, like my little sister, and I'm sorry, Robin, I hope you're not mad I'm bringing you up, but like she has like really weird period, not weird, but very heavy. She's always had really heavy periods.
yes,
And it's like, and I bet her doctors never really questioned too terribly much about it. And it's just
no.
like, well, it's just sort of the deal. And it's like,
No, and I hate saying this, but I don't want her to be one of those women like a decade from now, like is having her uterus taken out. It's
mhm.
like because clearly someone knows like her periods are abnormal right now, right? Like that's something going on. And there should be gotta fight to get better answers, whether it's like more research and like funding for this, but it feels not good enough.
No, it's not. So we're kind of at time. I feel
Sorry,
like we could just no,
let
no, we can just keep
hysterectomy flow
doing
out
this.
of it.
No, but so your situation is closed right now. Do you have a name? What's the name of your program?
It was called Reset and Restore, but I don't know what this next iteration will be called if we change it up, but that's what it was called. But you can always find me on katyrexing.com, and I always have like the latest information of any offerings that are going on there.
You also have a really good newsletter. And
Oh,
I
that's
like that
sweet.
it's not spammy and it's not like every day. Like I like that it's when it pops up, I'm like, oh, this is one of the few ones I'll actually read.
Oh, thank you. I was actually just working on one for this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to finish it in time, but it's a little lengthy about moving and all this kind of stuff. But thank you. I really enjoy those. I like sending out those. So thank you.
So how can people find you?
So
katyrexing.com.
Katy
And I
Rexing
guess
and then Katy Rexing at Instagram, and I'll be back on it soon. I'll be back there soon, and that's really it. Those 2 places are the best way to find me. And you
well,
can
this
always, if you have questions or anything, like people, I always answer any of my questions via the blog. So if you have any questions or anything pops up, like you can always find me on the blog. And I love connecting with women, like via email or via the blog. It's just such a great way versus Instagram. It feels like a better way to connect.
yeah,
So
I
always happy to get messages there.
don't slide into your DMs. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, you can, but I feel like we can have a lengthier conversation, over
Yeah.
on the blog.
Perfection. Well, Katy, thank you so much. This has
Thank
been
you.
amazing. And
Thank you, Mary. This was so fun. I always love chatting with you. I didn't know what to expect, and of course, it was so fun. I'm like, if
I'm
nothing
glad.
else, we'll have a couple good laughs. We'll, just catch up. So it was so nice. So thank you so much. I
Thank
loved
you.
it.
Thanks for listening to All Up in My Lady Business with me, Mary Nisi. We'd love for you to like, review, subscribe, follow us at All Up in My Lady Business on the gram. And if you're a female identifying person and you want to dance, you can follow. I mean, everybody can follow it, but if you want to be a part of the magic at Hot Flash Dance Party, sign up for the mailing list to find out where our next party is going to be. And if you are looking for a DJ in the Chicagoland area or anywhere else, money's the same color everywhere. Fly us out. ToastandJamDJs.com has the best. And listen to my radio show. I have a radio show on Chirp Radio at chirpradio.org. That's Mondays, every Monday from 12 until 3 p.m. CST. Today's episode is produced by Shiraz Dada. Theme song composed and performed by, you guessed it, Shiraz Dada. All right, guys. Peace out.